The Nissan Patrol is a series of large four-wheel drive vehicles manufactured by Nissan in Japan since 1951. The Patrol is generally regarded as a tough and utilitarian 4A, 4 in Australia and New Zealand, the Middle East, Latin America, Africa, Europe, Japan, and the Caribbean, where it competes directly with the Toyota Land Cruiser, which is its main rival in those markets. In the United States and Canada, it competes in the luxury SUV segment where it carries the upscale Infiniti brand. The Patrol has been available as either a short-wheelbase 3-door or a long-wheelbase 5-door chassis. The LWB version has also been offered in utility and cab chassis variants alongside the wagon. Between 1988 and 1994, Ford Australia marketed the Patrol as the Ford Maverick. The Maverick was available alongside the Nissan-branded Patrol. Also, in some European countries the Patrol was, for a short while, marketed as Ebro Patrol. Since 1980, in Japan, it has been known as the Nissan Safari. The Patrol is available in Australia, Central and South America, South Africa, parts of Southeast Asia and Western Europe as well as Iran and the Middle East, but not in North America, as the Nissan Armada fills in the affordable full-size SUV sector. In 2010, it became available in North America as the upscale 2011 Infiniti QX56, which had shared the same platform as the US-built Nissan Armada from 2004 to 2010. The second-generation Y60 platform is still manufactured as a military vehicle in the countries of Asia and the Middle East, and various versions of the Patrol are widely used by United Nations agencies. These Y61 models are produced alongside the current Y62. The fourth and fifth generations are the main troop transport vehicles used by the Irish Army. First generation, in September 1951 the Ford W60 was introduced, and was exclusive to Japanese Nissan dealerships called Nissan Store, which was later renamed Nissan Bluebird Store in 1966. The overall styling was similar to the Willys Jeep. The Ford W60 used the 75 HP 3.7L Nissan NAK engine from the Nissan 290 bus, but with part-time four-wheel drive and a 4-speed manual transmission. The grille had a pressed steel Nissan badge. A Ford W70 carrier-based wagon was available. The Ford W60 was replaced with the Ford W61 in August 1955. The Ford W61 was introduced in August 1955. The Ford W61 was similar to the Ford W60 with the exception of the grille, a one-piece windshield that sits further back when folded, chrome strips on the hood, and unequal-sized seats. The other big change is the engine. The Ford W61 was powered by the new 3.7L Nissan NB engine, producing 92 HP, and later was powered by the 105 HP 4.0L Nissan NC engine. The grille badge was chrome and red and said Nissan. In October 1958, the Ford W61 was discontinued and replaced with the Ford W65. In October 1958 the Ford W65 Patrol was introduced. The Ford W65 was similar to the Ford W61 except for the grille, which now had all chrome bars and redesigned front fenders and hood. A Nissan badge was on the grille, and Patrol badges were added on the sides of the hood. An 8-seater hardtop wagon, the WG4 W65, was available. The short-lived Ford W66 Patrol was introduced in December 1959. The only change is that the Ford W66 was powered by the 125 HP 4.0 LP engine. The Ford W66 was discontinued in June 1960. Ford W70 series, the Nissan Ford W70 Carrier was introduced in 1950 and was based on the Dodge M37. The Ford W70 used the M37's chassis, but used the Ford W60 Patrol drivetrain and engine. The grille was also different, being narrower, and different front fenders. The Ford W72 was introduced in 1955 with changes to the hood, grille and headlights. Power increased to 105 HP thanks to the new Nissan NC engine. Modifications again to the hood, fenders and grille and an increase in power to 145 HP led to the Ford W73, introduced in 1959 and now powered by the Nissan P engine. Second generation, the soft-top Nissan Patrol 60 wheelbase, and G60 wheelbase, were first sold in Australia in 1960. Left-hand drive L60 per gallon 60 models were sold outside of Australia. Nissan Australia claimed that the 60 Series Patrol was the first vehicle to drive across the Simpson Desert in Australia, and built much publicity around the 50-year anniversary of the event, including a reenactment with a similar vehicle ending on July 21, 2012 to publicize the impending release of their new generation Y62. However, this version of events differs from the recollections of Griselda Sprigg, the wife of Reg Sprigg, who accompanied him on the trip. In her 2001 book about the event, she describes how Reg and the Nissan was held up on the last day. Griselda and the children went on to Birdsville in a Toyota Land Cruiser, which was one of 3 support vehicles. Reg arrived the next day in the Patrol, making it the second vehicle to cross the Simpson Desert. In Being First is Forever, Marge Sprigg confirms only the Nissan Patrol G60 did the west-east crossing of the Simpson Desert. Doug and Marge undertook the crossing with their parents. The other vehicles did not cross west-east, they used another route. U.S. customers could only get Patrols from 1962 until 1969. An extra long-wheelbase version, the H60, was also available. The 4WD Nissan Patrol 60 series was produced in short, medium and long wheelbase versions. It had a manual transmission type F3B83L at first with 3 and later with 4 speeds, 2-speed transfer case with part-time 4-wheel drive. The motor was the P engine, a 3,956 cc inline overhead valve 6-cylinder, featuring bathtub-shaped combustion chambers and a fully balanced 7-bearing crankshaft. With 2 doors in front and 1 at the back and 4 seats, the extra long wheelbase version was available with 8 passenger capacity. Other characteristics are, wheelbase 2.22.8 m, max load, 1,000 kg, bore, 85.7 m, stroke, 114.3 m, suspension, live leaf, brakes, drum, tires, 7.50A, 16. Fuel tank 64 L capacity. In 1963, the KG60 hardtop models were introduced. The front-end styling of the 60 series resembles the Toyota Land Cruiser. Jonga. In the 1960s, the Indian Army showed an interest in 2 vehicles from the Nissan stable. They were the Nissan Patrol P60 and the Nissan 4W73. The first production units were completed at Vehicle Factory Jabalpur around 1969. The name as per the Indian Army records is Jonga, which is an acronym for Jabalpur Ordnance and Gunsaraj Assembly. It was built at the newly commissioned Vehicle Factory Jabalpur alongside the Nissan 4W73. The first production units were completed at Vehicle Factory Jabalpur around 1969. VFJ was sanctioned in 1965 for the production of 3 non-fighting vehicles for the Indian military, the 3-ton Shaktiman truck from MAN, the 4W73 and quarter-ton Nissan Patrol. Interestingly, both the vehicles from Nissan's stable were fitted with the same engines and lots of parts in common. The Jonga was also briefly sold to civilian customers with a 4.0L Hino diesel engine in 1996, but the demand was low, mostly due to an uncompetitive price, as well as its unappealing looks. Less than 200 units were sold in all. Jonga served faithfully until the late 1990s, when it was replaced by the lighter Mahindra and Mahindra MM550 Jeeps. Many Army auctioned pieces have also been scrapped by their subsequent civilian owners, or stretched and converted to people carriers in rural areas. Third generation, 160 series, 1980 Euro 1989. The 160 series was introduced in 1980 to replace the 60 series. In Australia, these are officially known as the MQ Patrol. In 1980, the engines available were the L28, P40 and SD33. All models were available with a 4-speed manual transmission, albeit a 3-speed automatic was optional on long wheelbase vehicles fitted with the L28 engine. All 160 series Patrols came with a 2-speed offset transfer case, which featured a 1/1 high gear and a low gear. All models had leaf-sprung suspension. The SD33 vehicles feature 24-volt electrics. Different trim options and colors were available, with options including vinyl or carpet floors, and blue or brown interior trim. Air conditioning and power steering were available on deluxe models. The front differential in all models was C200. In Australia, the standard rear differential was the H233. Some versions featured limited slip differentials. A heavy-duty model rear differential was used in some pickup trucks and P40-engined wagons. This was the H260 model differential. In European markets, where less onerous off-road use was expected, the light-duty C200 rear differential was installed in some vehicles. In 1983, the MQ model was updated. These are commonly known as an MK Patrol, however this does not appear on any Nissan literature or service manuals. Nissan parts dealers do not recognize these initials either. Updates included revised front end with rectangular headlights and an upgraded front suspension. The 4-speed gearbox was revised and a 5th gear was added for most models. The 4-speed was still used in some lower-spec utes, presumably to run out stock. A high-roof version of the wagon was added at the same time, which was also when the SD33T turbo diesel option was first made available. With 110 PS, the turbo diesel can reach 145 km/h. The naturally aspirated SD33 diesel engine was also updated at this time. Revisions included the use of 3 piston rings instead of 5, piston oil squirters and spin-on oil filter instead of a paper cartridge type. In Australia and some other parts of the world, the SD33 engine Patrols were also revised to standard 12-volt electronics. To accommodate the extra power of the turbo diesel engine, these models feature a larger clutch and larger oil cooler than does the naturally aspirated version. These were the last Patrols to carry the Datsun brand. In line with the rest of the Nissan lineup, the Patrol lost its Datsun branding in 1984 in most markets. 260 series, 1986 a Euro 2002, the 260 series was a Spanish-built version of the 160 sold in Europe and was available in SWB/LWB and with L28, SD33 and a D28T engines. The SD-engined version, at least in the UK market, had a 24-volt electrical system. The 260 Patrol later received a facelift with a new grille similar to that of the Y60 series, which succeeded this generation elsewhere. Spanish production continued until 1994 for export and until 2002 for the Spanish domestic market. Fourth generation, the Y60 was radically different mechanically from its predecessors as it was the first Patrol with coil-sprung suspension, proving to be both more comfortable and more capable over rough ground. All Y60 Patrols had a 3-link live-axle suspension setup at the front, with all wagons having a 5-link setup at the rear. The utility model was available with both a leaf spring rear axle and from 1994 onwards a choice of the same coil spring rear axle as the wagons. Sway bars were included on both front and rear coil sprung live axles. Power steering was standard on all models. All wagons have disc brakes both front and rear, with the ute retaining drum brakes at the rear. The introduction of a synchromotion reverse gear was another improvement over the previous model. Most models had a rear limited slip differential and some variants had a vacuum or electric solenoid-operated manual rear differential lock. A rear sway bar release mechanism was also found on some models. Some Y60s even had a PTO-driven front-mounted winch, with an in-cab control lever found to the right of the gear stick. The Patrol was branded Safari in Japan, where it featured a 24V electrical system, instead of the standard 12V. The TD42 and TB42 were available with both a 5-speed manual and a 4-speed automatic gearbox. The Road 28T and the RB30 were only available with a 5-speed manual. Trim levels in Australia included R, DX with manual mirrors, no central locking, vinyl interior, optional AC, manual locking hubs. RX with electric mirrors, central locking, carpet interior, AC, manual locking hubs. Street with electric windows, electric mirrors, central locking, carpet interior, AC, automatic locking hubs. TI with electric windows, electric mirrors, central locking, leather and carpet interior, rear AC, wood grain, 7-speaker sound system, alloy 3-spoke wheels, automatic locking hubs. The TI model had a high roof design until 1991. Trim levels in Europe varied greatly country by country. These include designations like SLX, LX and many others in France. Finnish Patrols came standard with 2 batteries. A myriad of dealer-fitted accessories were available including sunroofs, roof racks, tow bars, driving lights, cargo barriers, and side steps. The TD42 was available with an optional Safari turbocharger at some Australian dealers. 2 major updates, one in 1992, the other in 1995, continued to improve the Y60 Patrol. The most notable changes in 1992 being the introduction of fuel injection on the TB42 motor, EGR valve and oil cooler on the RD28E, new seats, new trim, sound deadening and side intrusion bars. In 1991 the rear indicators, tail lights and brake lights were relocated to the bumper from the body to meet Australian design rules, however they stayed the same in the European versions. In 1995 another set of indicators were placed on the front quarter panel. In August 1993 the TD42 was lightened in order to reduce fuel consumption and make it rev harder. This also had the side effect of weakening the engine. The original engine can be identified by its silver rocker cover, whereas the lightened engine featured a black rocker cover. In 1995 another little-known change to the TD42 was the removal of an oil line that squirted oil onto the piston crown, cooling the piston crown from its underside. This makes pre-1993 engines more suitable for aftermarket turbochargers as they featured heavier internals and oil squirters. Also the RD28T got some extra changes, in this case the vacuum pump got moved from behind the alternator to the top of the engine. Also driver airbags started to appear in some European models. Known weaknesses include vibrations from the front end, cracking hinges on the rear door and rusty rear window frames. The Road 28T motor is also known to suffer from head gasket issues when driven with a heavy foot. Also European 5-speed gearboxes suffer from bearing failures in 5th gear at high mileages. From 1988 to 1994, Ford Australia rebadged the Y60 Patrol as the Ford Maverick. This was a result of the button car plan devised by the Government of Australia. The car was mechanically identical but featured different paint colours and trim levels. The Y60 Patrol featured strong support from aftermarket accessory manufacturers such as ARB, Tough Dog, Marks 4WD, Kamer and TJM. Bull bars, rear bars, locking differentials, suspension kits, reduction gears, roof racks, auxiliary fuel and water tanks, drawer storage systems and turbochargers for some models were available. Gearbox specifications. Other specifications, diffs ratios of 3.91, 4.1111, 4.3751 and 4.625 were found across the range. The chain-driven transfer case was identical across all engines with a ratio of 2.02 to 1. All wagons had a 95L main fuel tank with the utility having a 90L tank and the option of a 95L SU-tank. 5th generation. Y61 models first appeared in 1997, available in 4.5L petrol, 4.8L petrol and 2.8L turbo diesel, 3.0L turbo diesel, 4.2L diesel, 4.2L turbo diesel, 4.2L turbo diesel intercooler variants. Some of the drivetrain was changed in this model. Bigger coves, more synchros in the manual gearboxes. The diff housings were widened to fall in line with the new body shape, but diff centers remained the same. Some of petrol wagons received a coil version of the H260 diff however. Comfort levels were also increased over GQ, especially in the seating and NVH areas. In 2004 a significant facelift model was released, with new headlights, box flares on each guard, and larger tail lights. That same year, Nissan stopped selling the Safari in Japan due to poor sales. Nissan also makes a two-door pickup version of the Y61 series available as cab chassis and with a style side tray in some markets. Although a new model has been launched, this Y61 series will still sell for off-road enthusiasts but only with few options as a basic trim. Its TB48D engine is very famous and popular among UAE tuners, where it could be easily modified and upgraded to levels where it could beat some supercars produced by Lamborghini, Ferrari, Nissan and other supercar producers. In one occasion a Terabyte 48D engine was fully modified and was able to reach over 2000 HP for the Sandhills Challenges. As of 2013, Nissan discontinued the fifth-generation model worldwide, except for Australia, South Africa and the Middle East where the 4X4 will compete against the Toyota Land Cruiser 70 series. Sixth generation. The all-new 2010 Nissan Patrol was launched on 13 February with the slogan Hero of All Terrain, at a VIP event in Abu Dhabi, UAE. A luxury version is sold as the Infiniti QX56. The 2010 Nissan Patrol is powered by VK56 VD-V8 with 400 HP and 560 Nm, with features such as VVEL variable valve event and lift and dig gasoline direct injection, and mated to a 7-speed automatic. A variable 4mode package allows switching between 4 drive modes, sand, on-road, rock and snow, with the flick of a switch. And a hydraulic body motion control system is available. Also available are an electronic locking rear differential, hill start and hill descent control, as well as lane departure warning, automatic braking and stability control. The Infiniti version launched in the United States in 2010. The Nissan Patrol version launched in Australia in early 2013. The Infiniti offered 7-passenger seating. The Nissan Patrol is offered in 4 different levels of trim in the Middle East, XE, SE, LE, and City package. In Australia the Street L, T, and TL trim levels are offered. In 2014 a significant facelift has arrived, with revised tail lights and built-in LED headlights. New tan interior was added and new sets of wheels. Nissan has also introduced a limited-run Patrol Black Special Edition which will be offered in 200 units. These cars will come several enhancements such as red seats, chrome detailing and a black matte exterior paint scheme. References. External links, media related to Nissan Patrol at Wikimedia Commons, media related to Nissan Safari at Wikimedia Commons, Nissan Patrol at Nissan's global website, Nissan Patrol Y61 at Nissan Australia's website.